There are few numbers in football that carry such significance or admiration as the number 10. Some of the greatest players in history have worn this number on the back of their jerseys. And some of the greatest moments in the game have been created by a player wearing the number 10. But why is the number 10 so symbolic? The number 10 is given to the playmaker or attacking midfielder on a football team. They will play just behind the forwards and are responsible for creating goal-scoring opportunities for the team. The number 10 jersey has been worn by some of the best football players in the history of the game. How and why this has come to be so meaningful is an interesting question. Throughout this video, we'll take a look at what it means, why it's so significant, the history of the number 10 jersey, some of the great soccer players who have worn this number, but also how football evolved in this modern era, where the number 10 role is no longer as important as other roles. To really understand the significance of the number 10 in football, you need to understand how the football players started to wear numbers in the first place. The history of using numbers on jerseys in football goes all the way back to Australia in 1911. A game played between Sydney Leichhardt and HMS Powerful is the first recorded instance of a football team playing with numbers on their backs. Teams in the South American country of Argentina were the next to start doing this in 1923, and the United States followed in March 1924 in a game between the Fall River Marksmen and the St. Louis Vesper Buick. England, the home of modern-day football, didn't start wearing jerseys with numbers on until 1928. The players were numbered from 1 to 11, with the goalkeeper as number 1, and from him going up on the field. The history of the number 10 jersey is no different from any of the other numbers worn by football players. But the incredible talent, flair, and charisma of the players with 10 on the back created a legacy unmatched. The first classic number 10 that we all know first appeared with two of the best players in the history of football, Alfredo Di Stefano in the 1950s, and later with Pelé in the 60s. From these two legends of the game, football brought us other iconic players with 10 on their backs, from Maradona in the 80s to Messi and Neymar in recent times. So let's dive in a little about the role that the number 10 has in a game and how important it is for the team. Sorry to interrupt, but before we continue, I have to tell you guys about Sorare, fully verified and trusted website where you can invest in sports stars and build your fantasy team. Put your sports knowledge to work and make profits. Sign up through the link in the description to get a free card. The role of a number 10 in football is to create goal-scoring opportunities for their team. They do this by making incisive passes, creating space for other players, or scoring goals themselves. The player who wears the number 10 is usually the playmaker on a team. He could play as a second striker, like Dybala or Francesco Totti, a center forward like Rivaldo, but also on the wings like Ronaldinho did. The enganche dictates the rhythm of play and regulates the tempo of his team. But in recent times, it has been seen that this tempo can also be set by a defensive midfielder like Sergio Busquets, who did it regularly at Barcelona, or how Rodri does it now for Manchester City. Many of the roles performed by the classic number 10 are now delegated to other players in a football team. But what does enganche mean? Enganche is a Spanish word which, when translated to English, means a hook. An enganche on the field is a player that, like a hook, is connecting the midfield with the attackers. In essence, it is referred to as a classic number 10. The players that played as enganche created the concept of pause. In the 80s, there were moments when midfielders took the ball and paused the tempo of the game before making an incredible pass that only a number 10 could. This was possible because it was generally played at a slower pace compared to the fast-paced romp we see today. In today's football, zonal marking and high press are crucial defensive tactics adopted by almost every big club and almost every big manager. That was not the case back then. The ability to slow down helped the enganche create chances almost every time. He had the luxury of time to pick out a defense-splitting pass and make his presence known on the field. An enganche was the most dangerous player on the pitch, destabilizing opponents at will with his wide range of passing, skills, dribbling, and shooting. But now let's see how the enganche changed its attributions over the last few years. Part of the reason why the number 10 is changing today is that often the player's ability in attack makes him vulnerable in defense. The number 10 has historically been a slow, ponderous player who needs a lot of protection from his more robust teammates. Besides, with the fast-paced nature of modern-day football, the enganche enjoys precious little time on the ball. Football itself has evolved in the last few decades. This is the age when fullbacks provide assists on a regular basis. especially at teams like Liverpool, where managers like Jurgen Klopp have applied a system in which the two fullbacks, Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold, create a lot of attacking opportunities for their forward players. And it's not just their case, we saw this before at Barcelona with Dani Alves and Jordi Alba, but also we're seeing the perfect example of this style at Bayer Leverkusen, where Xabi Alonso created two beasts on the flanks, with Frimpong and Grimaldo scoring or assisting every game. Teams started winning important trophies such as Champions League or Premier League without having a classic number 10 in their system. The number 10 is at his best in a midfield diamond, in formations like 4-3-1-2 or 4-4-2. But almost all of the big clubs in the world adopted the 4-3-3 system, which is the most widely used formation in the game today, and where the number 10 just can't get minutes on the field. The entire tactical game that we see today was created to give less time for the opponents to think of their solutions on the field when they have the ball. Modern football requires players that can run for the entire 90 minutes, players that can attack but can also come back in defense, and this created the ultimate football player that every team needs today. A combination of the number 10 and the number 6. These players can make incredible passes, can easily score goals, and can also defend, all of them in a high-speed rhythm. The perfect example is Kevin De Bruyne. 2 times Player of the Year in Premier League, KDB is bringing joy to the fans with his style of play. After the recent injury that kept him away for a while, he showed us why these types of players are so important for a team when he came back scoring and assisting in just 20 minutes against Newcastle. Jude Bellingham is also a good example. One of the best players in the world this season, with 20 goals and 9 assists for Real Madrid. Bellingham is a perfect mix between the defensive qualities of a number 6 and the flair and creativity of a number 10. Also, we can't forget Bruno Fernandes, who has a crucial role for Manchester United, or the importance that Wirtz is having for the incredible season of Bayer Leverkusen. So in modern football, the classic creative playmaker is now evolving with the game, starting to become better in other aspects of the game too. But the most important part is that these players will still bring us joy, and they won't stop giving us incredible moments. Number 10 is the most respected number in the history of football. And because of the inspiration that players like Pelé, Maradona, and Messi are for the young generations, we are sure that the number 10 legacy will never stop. And this shirt will remain maybe the most iconic number in the history of the beautiful game.